may not have hired them with your votes on Election Day, but you're paying the state's top 3 office holders more than $270,000 a year with your tax money. That's more than $45 an hour. Are you getting your money's worth? Do you even know what these people do all day? Well, for the next hour, we invite you to join us as we take a look behind the scenes at a typical day in the life of the Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor, and Governor of Virginia.
I'm a morning person. We get up at 5:30 around my house, and we have breakfast together at 6:15. And my oldest 2 children leave. They catch the bus at 6:45, and then I head out after them. So we get up together in the morning, have breakfast, have family devotions, and then we're all heading out the house about the same time. Good morning. Good morning. I have a pretty relaxing drive in. I usually stop and get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I listen to the news, and my drive in is about 25 or 30 minutes, and it's a pretty relaxing morning. And then when it gets here, that's when you get in the blocks and the race begins. On a very frequent basis, I recognize the historical role that Virginia has played in the nation, and the fact that there have only been 40 attorney generals, and that it's humbling and sobering to have the opportunity to be the Attorney General of Virginia. I think about that very often. I've tried to make sure the attorneys know that they have the freedom to make decisions, in the ordinary run of their daily decision making. That they don't need to check with me on everything. But clearly, every agency has a head, and I accept that responsibility. Well, I don't know what I'd do without her. She's been with me since I was elected to the Senate in 1987. Prior to being elected to the Senate, I was on a board in Chesapeake called the Community Diversion Incentive Board, and she was a secretary to the head of that board. And when I was elected, I asked her if she would become my legislative assistant, which she did for 10 years, and then she became my executive assistant once I became Attorney General. So she does a great job, and the good thing about having that continuity over the years is people know when they call, if they talk with her, it's pretty close to talking to me, and she's learned how to, I think, anticipate, what I would want to do and how I would respond to certain things. Did you all do the high-level thanking who's there? And, if this is typical, I'm going to get it 5 minutes beforehand. But the sooner you can help me pull that together, the better. Who do I need to recognize, in terms of elected officials? I'd say this job on 95% of the days is very exciting, very challenging, very interesting. It's something new every day. By virtue of the fact that the Attorney General's office has 160 lawyers that represent almost every aspect of state government, all of the tough issues usually end up passing through this office at some point in time. So it's never a dull moment here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Every Monday morning we have a senior staff meeting, which is comprised of all of the deputies of our legal divisions, as well as our general counsels. And basically everybody gives a report about what's going on in their division. I get those reports in writing on Friday, and then we go over them all together on Monday.
I took a drive over there on Friday when I left.
Mark Earley. Yes, sir. Of course, there were a huge range of alternatives in between. When you're tried as an adult, you can be sentenced as a juvenile. Yeah, we specifically did it that way so that you can have someone tried as an adult and actually be found guilty as an adult but get a juvenile sentence. close to the office, actually. It's not that far away. We double bunk it.
Yes, so
Plus,
it's not so much
plus.
on the bus, on the floor.
Kids have what's the age range?
8 to 18.
It's important to me, especially in the context of our emphasis we've had this year on youth violence, reducing youth violence, and trying to reduce youth membership in gangs, to try to get to know young people who have been involved in that arena and who have either successfully made it out or who are still stuck in it. And so what we'll be doing today, both going to the Juvenile Detention Center as well as the public meeting later on tonight, it's very important to me because it gives me an opportunity to see things firsthand, to get a feel for the kids who have made bad decisions but who hopefully still have a future, and particularly helps me, I think, get a better idea of what we can do to make sure we prevent as much youth crime and gang membership as we can. That would conclude our summit. Our task force may well have some legislative recommendations regarding the criminal code of Virginia, although that's not our major emphasis. We've really tried to emphasize prevention.
Hey.
Hello, sir. How you doing today?
Great. How you doing?
Yes, fine.
Good to see you.
Reverend Randolph's my name.
Yeah. Thanks for hosting us.
Our task force on gang and youth violence has very much been an attempt to get as much input as we could from across the state, from as many varying sources, to try to develop a comprehensive package and model of how we can combat youth violence.
Yeah, we thought your presentation out in Colorado. Hey, Reverend Glenn, thank you so much, and you've got a beautiful new facility. I came this morning from the Richmond City Detention Center, where I met with 3 youths who are incarcerated there, which we have done every day. We have had a summit in different parts of the state, Fairfax and Norfolk and Roanoke, and again today. And again today, as I've shared with you on previous occasions, the same pattern was evident. Today, in meeting with one young lady and 2 young gentlemen, all 3 of them came from homes that were, to put it mildly, dysfunctional. One young man, his mother and father divorced at age 4. He had no relationship with his father until, as a teenager, he was selling crack cocaine on the streets of his neighborhood, and his father was buying crack cocaine from him. So it was part of the same pattern, and part of the reason why, quite frankly, I'm so excited about this task force coming to a conclusion with some recommendations. I know the area in which you've headed. I think we've got some good recommendations to toughen up some of our criminal statutes, to give law enforcement more tools than they need. I've been in the legislature for 10 years. Many of you have been working in this arena for longer. I think we have some momentum in the communities, in the sense that people are more ready and willing now to invest of their time and resources toward our youth in our neighborhoods than we have had before.
Make some input, even though I think it's great.
Definitely, my mom's like, Atlantic Shores called and they want us to come back. I think it'd be wonderful to go. So my departure.
Appreciate you being here. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, we're going to just walk around, but we're going to take you back into that holding room about 10 or 15 minutes before.
Okay, I need names on the sheet about who's singing. They're not on there. I understand the girl from Commonwealth Challenge is singing again tonight, the Star Spangled Banner. There's a lot of other youth around here in uniforms I think we need to recognize, and I need those groups.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to take you back to that holding room about 10 minutes before.
All right.
So we're all coming out together. And
I'm going to just walk in here for now for a little while.
Fine.
All right. Coach, you changed.
Oh, yeah.
You look so relaxed before. I really appreciate you being here.
Okay.
Did you get a table all right? And you
yeah.
you got the best seat in the house there. All right. Thank you. Right now?
Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
All right.
You're
All
here.
right. Well, you got a great church. I want to go in here and hear this singing group here. This is where the action is. I love getting the kids involved and getting them singing, you know. I think it's just so...
It is.
Yeah.
It's very uplifting.
These kids are, I believe, from Sussex High School.
They're very good.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
The choir's going till just before, about till 5:05, and the color guard just, like we did last time. Commonwealth Challenge is going to present the colors.
I thought that the same girl that sang last time singing again tonight.
No,
She told me she was. The girl with Commonwealth Challenge?
Okay, well, I guess I need to talk to her. I never asked her to do that, but
All right.
I guess she's doing it by default, so I'll talk to her.
Okay. Well, as long as I just introduce
We'll
the
have
right
dueling.
person.
That's a goal for
We ready? Okay, let's go.
By the dawn's early light, was so proudly we hailed.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. As some of you may know, I have 6 children, and by the way, that little boy crying doesn't bother me at all. I feel right at home. If I can't be home, at least it can sound like home. I have 4 that are in the public schools. Just down the road a little piece. I live here in Chesterfield now. And as a parent, and I know other parents, the biggest concern I have for my children is not the academic environment they're in. They're in a great academic environment. But you worry about that student who may go off and create an environment in a school that all of a sudden becomes more akin to something none of us want to think about than a learning environment. And in Virginia, our superintendents, our principals, our law enforcement officers, I believe, are on the forefront of ensuring that we have safe schools. And we want to continue that emphasis. We've been studying different approaches in our task force, and we will continue to do that as we come to our conclusions within the next several weeks. Tonight, we recognize it's important just not to prevent the horrific tragedy of a shooting, but also to stop and to make sure we don't have a disruptive environment that involves fights or even threats. All of those things can diminish the learning environment which is there to establish liberty and justice and freedom for the next generation. Tonight, we're going to hear from some speakers who are on the cutting edge of school safety issues across the nation, and they're right here in Virginia doing that job. After we do that, about 7 o'clock, we're going to open up the mics to all of you to get your suggestions about what our task force should do in the area of school safety and beyond. So we look forward to hearing from all of you tonight.
Every day I see problems. I see little kids cursing out the teachers. I see little kids doing things that little kids shouldn't be doing. You talk to the parents say, I can't control the child at home. You have problem children, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. They need attention now.
These should have to send a message to the world.
What time? More. Rear wheel. More.
Around the world. See, because they know that Jesus is the answer.
I think it's been very encouraging, and I think it really demonstrates the fact that we've got people in our communities who are willing to say, you know, I have to start acting today as if the future of my kids and the kids in my community depend upon my actions. I usually go to bed around 10. But usually if I get home earlier, we always have supper together, and then you know, we got a lot of homework with our children to have fun with. But we go to bed pretty early around our house. The lights are off usually around 10 or 10:30. I've always had the capacity to, when I leave it, to leave it until the next day. I enjoy this job very much, and I think at the end of any given day, you know, my thoughts are pretty much the day is over here, and I'm turning my thoughts back to home, because that's as much of a responsibility for me as this job is. So I'm pretty much gearing up for another set of responsibilities as soon as I walk out this door. And you know, I do a lot of cooking, so you know, I may call home and say, you know, what are we going to cook tonight, and do I need to get anything at the store? So it's really sort of when I leave here, my day sort of shifts into stage 2, and I'm really more thinking about that than I am thinking about, you know, what did we do today and how did we do it.
For the first time in the history of the Commonwealth, a wheelchair ramp had to be built here in front of the steps of the state capitol to accommodate our new Lieutenant Governor's inauguration. John Hager's been doing business from a wheelchair since 1973. As you'll see in our next segment, it hasn't slowed him down one bit.
I'm an engineer. I went to Harvard Business School. I didn't go to Harvard Business School to be a theorist. I went to be an active person, and now I'm in the business of getting things done for other people. And that's the most exciting business of all in America. And I also hold it in high trust. It's just doing great. How are you doing?
Doing fine. We appreciate you coming out here.
Well, it's a pleasure. It's just
all your credit union friends.
Yeah. Another busy day for me, but it's going to be an exciting one in a lot of ways. Well, Governor Gilmore's got a big press conference this morning. Going down to Jamestown, at the chamber dinner, I don't know, there's several things. So I really am focused on what we can do every day, what our checklist is, how we can impact other people and reach out, how we can make sure we do a good job. Now, granted, everybody says a lot of it's political. Well, a lot of it is political, but this is a political world, and I'm in a political office. And so if we do better than others, I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to run for something or be elected, because it becomes automatic if you do a good job and you do it better than other people, and if you do it in a meaningful fashion. And so that's really what I'm thinking about, is what am I going to get done today? How you doing? I think I can sneak through there. Thank you. I believe up here, I really am thinking about what I'm going to get done. That's the way I've always been. I've never changed a whole lot, and I think it's the way I was brought up and the way I was educated, and you know, the way I have been successful in other worlds, business, community.
I think that I would like to call on the Lieutenant Governor to make some comments. And we've had a delightful conversation during breakfast, so with no further ado, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Governor John Hager.
But I said that when I was elected, I would be a different kind of lieutenant governor, that I would take advantage of the opportunity to work full-time with and for the people of Virginia, to go back where I went before the election. That's a novel idea, right? And actually try to reach out, listen and learn, and translate what I learn into action. And so it's been a very exciting year for me as Lieutenant Governor, as I've traveled around Virginia. Thank you for allowing me a few minutes this morning and to be with you, and good luck in all your endeavors. Tomorrow night is the emergency shelter roast, They're roasting me tomorrow night.
Oh, really?
And we're going to have Paul Harris is one of the roasters, and Bill Bowling, and Lisa Schaffner, and it's going to be very nice. Yeah. And a couple of others. Hi, thank you. Teresa, how are you?
President, I just want to thank you personally for being here.
Yes, ma'am. Well, aren't you nice? I'm glad, mighty happy to be here. Is that the Optometrists Association?
Ophthalmology.
I knew the difference. I was just trying to pull his leg a little bit.
Yeah, I said the same thing to him this morning.
See, we give him a hard time.
Good morning, Lieutenant Governor.
Hello there. How you doing this morning, Mr. Secretary? That's what Dick Leggett told me. We wanted to get together.
I'll give you a call.
That'd be great. Gary? Hey there. I'm up here at the Capitol office. Yeah, I want you to come on up. Can you bring anything for me to sign? And any red dots you want to talk about? I've got a little bit of time. And then Catherine's she took the schedule back last night out of the car for some reason. So, okay, I'm right here. Bye. Good morning. Morning, stop.
Hi, how you doing? Good. We didn't realize we had the press so close.
They're just following me.
How are you doing, sir?
How'd you get in here?
Get started.
Good day, sir. You got to his brother-in-law's last followed me all the way over.
I guess we'll stay.
The year they're running for office, they're trying to call.
I don't think Jim has come down yet. Got a good crowd? I think so. Now, I would hope that Ann would move promptly, and I would hope that David would get with Ann and stimulate her to move promptly. But I'm out of it. We did what we said we'd do, and we did it in a very constructive fashion to try. And I hope they will respond, but I can't make them respond. You know what I mean?
No.
I went to the reception, and I had to drive to Suffolk. Originally, I was going. It was a 1 o'clock game. See, they changed the time.
ABC, right.
Did you get to go? Yeah. No, then when they changed the time, I just said, well, I'll go up to the reception, and then I had to drive to Suffolk for the Mills Godwin dinner for the 4th District. So I got aced out.
Robert, how are you? Good morning. Good morning, Governor. Good morning, Secretary. How are you?
Jim always says you have to make up your own mind on something. Because he's been there. He was Attorney General under George Allen. Is it important to support him on everything? Probably not. I think it's important to support him on the key things and anything that's based on principle or philosophy as opposed to, you know, details of legislation or particular initiatives.
I wish to recognize this morning the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia, John Hager, who has given such wonderful leadership in the Virginia State Senate. John, thank you very much for your success and your leadership.
I said last year I had 3 goals. 1, to do a good job presiding in the State Senate, work with all 40 senators. Number 2, to support Jim Gilmore on his key issues, public and private. And then 3rd, to develop a legislative agenda of my own that primarily comes from the grassroots, came from the campaign trail. so. See you, Terry. Yeah, isn't that great? We might be late. Are we late, Tommy?
You're not late at all. You are running right on time.
Well, that's one of the best pieces of news I've heard all day. I figured I'd start them out about 7:30 this morning, take them home about 11:30 tonight.
Oh, you're going to give them a short day. More prominent than the Times-Dispatch.
Yeah, I haven't even read all the news clips this morning, but I guess with all the caucus meetings going on,
Hey, John.
yeah, hello, Alan.
Nice to see you, sir.
Glad to see you. How are you? Hello, Will. Well, you know. Hey, Roy. The governor's economic forecasting, I said it was going to be over at 11. I was wrong. It was over at 12.
Put a dent in your schedule.
That's why I didn't come.
That's all right. We got message that you wouldn't be able to join us. Appreciate the call.
Good. How's it going?
Going well.
And where you got me sitting, Mark?
You may want to use the other
Down
door.
here. Thank you. Okay.
Do you want me to sit tight?
Jim, let's see. Why don't you just sit in for a few minutes and then grab yourself some lunch? I'm sure you probably want some. We'll aim to leave about 2.
Okay.
And that'll get, well, maybe 5 of it. It'll get us back at 3, which is when our other meeting starts at the other office. Okay. You can come in and just get a little flavor.
Okay.
Thank you. Richard is the senator from this south side area, just a little south of here, and he's the chairman of the Jamestown Yorktown Foundation Board.
I'd like to welcome you to our board luncheon and business session, and I now call this meeting to order.
See you, Phil.
Thank you, John.
Hey, good to see you. I was with your brother.
You were?
Did I tell you?
No.
I interviewed up here in Fauquier. Yeah, I went in and had to spend about an hour with him one day.
I hope he was hospitable.
I didn't know he was your brother till it was all over. Good to see you. Saw we a few minutes late.
All right, John.
Hey, you missed a good press conference this morning.
I understand. I understand he adopted all of our.
That's right. Well, they made it and kept all those promises.
We'll have to swam in the Democratic Party for a while.
Johnny, don't slack up on him now, today.
In my case, I probably work about 100 hours a week. Once the General Assembly's over and you've signed all the bills and the veto session's over and the special session's over and the aftermath's over, then you sort of start a new life. And I decided that I would try to split it up, in essence, 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. 1/3 is the job. I have an office in the Pocahontas building. I have 6 full-time employees. We get an incredible amount of phone calls, mail, email, faxes about everything known to man. I also am called on a fair amount by the governor to, he can't do this and he can't do that. Or I'm chairman of 3 commissions and on a couple of more. There's plenty of activity that's related to the job after the General Assembly. So it's probably 1/3 of the time that I spend on the job. Welcome to the office of the Lieutenant Governor. As an example. The second third is sort of my traditional third, which is what I call civic community charity. It's the people of Virginia being out with their groups, their events, their occasions, in essence, nonpartisan participation. And the third is political, supporting the party at the local, district, state, national level, supporting other candidates, supporting my own operation to show strength and give people options for the future. So those 3/3 are a 7-day-a-week you know, 12, 14-hour day job. And of course, I have been very active for a long time, and people say, well, gosh, you're so active. But to me, it's nothing new. I mean, I used to work in a very top executive position with a great diversity of responsibilities, and at the same time do a tremendous amount of civic and community activity. So it's sort of been my life. Last night we were up at the NRA for the opening dedication of the Firearms Museum. It was an exciting time. Catherine went with me. And then Friday I was back up meeting with some of the business community. I don't know what the reaction's been around here. I did talk to Jeremy Redmond from the Times in the car going down, and then we saw a couple of legislators down in Williamsburg. Hey, good to see you.
You're good.
Yeah. You want my key? Hey.
Hey, what's that?
I parked right over there. You want my key?
No problem.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Good. Thank you. Hey, how you doing? I went home and put on my monkey suit. I thought I'd be nice.
You look good. You gotta be dignified. You gotta be dignified, man.
There you go.
Where are we going? All right.
Hello, Margaret.
Hey, guys.
Hey, no.
How are you? Good to see you.
We had, the press conference was big this morning. I was excited about Jim's initiative and everything that's happening. I had to leave there and go to Williamsburg. Now I'm just getting back. No, we had a board luncheon down there at Jamestown, Yorktown.
Everyone's looking right this way. Somebody didn't smile. I'm not going to say who it was, but we're going to take a few more of these. Everyone's doing just fine. There we go. Perfect. Just like that. And one more time. This is it. Hey.
Awesome. That was great. Oh, yeah? I'm great. How you guys doing?
Fine, good to see you.
How do you know?
Yeah, you're looking mighty sharp.
Yeah. Somebody told me it's black tops, and so I gooed.
Was it really?
I don't know.
I didn't get that.
Hey, Carol. How are you? How you doing? Good to see you.
It's really good to see you.
What do you know?
Yeah, I just got back from Bosnia. I
that's exciting.
have to meet with you. What do I do to meet with you?
Call Catherine Waddell.
What?
Everybody wants to make Catherine Waddell's my scheduler. She's very good.
Okay.
Hey, Diana.
Hey, John. How are you?
So how long were you in Bosnia?
A week. We actually got the mayor and the vice mayor together to sign a letter for us in the situation in Bosnia.
Excuse me, can I sneak through here?
I removed that.
How you doing? Glad to see you.
Hey, Joe.
Please come to order.
Excuse me.
Sure. I want to tell you, I love your wife.
Thanks a lot.
She's calling me Charlie now.
Audience will hold your applause
Little white
as we
wine
all
beef
are up. We'll begin with our immediate past chair, Dr. Eugene P.
That's
Trani,
fine,
Virginia
thank
Commonwealth
you. Number one, I'm a former chairman. Number two, I was a businessman and believe in what the chamber should be and does. Number three, there is a broad cross-section of the leadership of Greater Richmond at this 600-plus person dinner. Number four, there are a lot of good close friends. The chairman, the speaker is the chairman of Allied Signal. I have a couple of roles in the program. Number one, of course, I'll be introduced and probably say hello in the beginning of the dinner, but I've been designated to be the one who asks the first question on a very tight schedule after he finishes speaking. Yes, thank you. How does the greater Richmond area stack up as far as business environment and quality of life compared to your facilities in other places in the world?
Perhaps there was a time when Richmond didn't sell itself as Virginia didn't sell itself, as well as some of the other communities in the country, and I'm thinking specifically of North Carolina or South Carolina or Alabama. But I think that trend's been reversed.
Well, now, Stephanie's my old buddy. I mean, I can't leave her out. Come on.
We're going to make David Ross jealous, though.
So you were able to retire?
No, sir. Unfortunately, it was a money situation. They offered me a nice
Right.
amount to come here to work. I'm the beverage manager for the hotel.
Well, good for you.
So,
Congratulations.
good to see you, sir.
Is this about capacity, 750?
Actually, we're going to, in this room we can do up to 1,100.
Oh, you can?
Yes, sir. Matter of fact, we're doing...
Awesome. Hey, Calvin.
There he is.
Congratulations.
Good. Well, thank you. Thank you. You got
I'm a supporter.
One more piece on Monday. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. I tend to think about what I need to do. I mean, tend to think about who I need to write a thank you letter to. If we've done something that you need to think about, I mean, I think in terms of people. Who did I meet that's new? Who do I need to write a note to? Could I have done better? As opposed to so much what we've accomplished.
Thanks a lot. Y'all were busy today, weren't you?
Yeah, a little rock.
I figure other people can worry about that. I think you should always focus on how you can do better, how you can improve. You know, because to me it's exciting, and you go and you give it your best shot, and the next day you're going to try something different, something new, something exciting, and give that your best shot. So I tend to think more about closing the book.
During the months of January and February, the job of the lieutenant governor shifts gears. He becomes president of the Senate, helping things run smoothly at the General Assembly. He only gets to vote in case of a tie. The governor of Virginia never gets to vote. He even has to have legislators submit his bills on his behalf. And it's probably a good thing. He has enough to do to keep up with his regular schedule.
I'm a night person. I usually hit stride in the early evening, and it's hard for me to wind down early, and usually I'm up until a very late hour, and it's hard for me to get going in the morning. And all my life I've promised myself I was going to be like everybody else in the world and be a morning person and start early and go to bed early, and I've never been able to do it, but it's just the way I am. I spend a lot of my time thinking about what the state is like and what it ought to be, really. And I react to a lot of things that I see in the morning when I read the two newspapers that I read every morning. I read the Richmond Times-Dispatch and the Washington Post every morning. And then I think about that as I'm getting ready, and then when I'm walking over to the mansion, I think about the tasks that are ahead, but I try to keep things in some perspective. It's not just focusing on individual tasks, but trying to understand how it all fits into the big picture. Typically, the Chief of Staff will come in and we'll try to gather some thoughts for the opening of the day and get focused on some of the tasks that are at hand. And then lunch, and then I'm going to get a Christmas tree, right?
Yeah.
You know who's bringing that?
I have no idea who's presenting the Christmas tree.
Okay, well, I probably got it in here. No, I think my Chief of Staff is very key, but he and I have been friends since we were just way back in school. Boyd Marcus and I have been friends and colleagues for 30 years. So we know each other very well, and I rely upon his advice, and he's turned out to be a really wonderful manager, and that's helping me quite a bit. Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. Be seated. Thank you. My pattern that I established when I was Attorney General was to draw together my key agency heads or division heads at that time, and I have continued that with a cabinet meeting once a week, every week. I don't attend them all. Sometimes they're presided over by the Chief of Staff. Sometimes they're provided over by my Chief Counsel, David Anderson. But it's good for the cabinet to get together. It gives them something to work towards in terms of summing things up at least once a week, whether it's for me or whether it's for my designee. It keeps a certain pace going in the administration that I like. The reports on it have been good. I think the policy of it is right. I think that it moves us in the right direction. We're going to still have more things to announce. In fact, hundreds and hundreds of things to announce, right? One reason why we have the cabinet meetings is to require accountability. People have to come in once a week and let me know what they're doing. And then if something occurs out there that the governor doesn't know about, we can go back and see whether or not it was presented properly within the cabinet. So it's exactly the management structure I'm most comfortable with. If anything, I am relying more on my cabinet officials and empower them more as cabinet officials than probably anybody else ever has before. What happened there? It's nice to be able to go home in the middle of the day, have lunch there and reflect a little bit before I come back. but it's just another way of living. Up to this point in my life, I've gone to lunch out in restaurants and fast food places and so on like that, and that's good too, because you see people and you're out in the world. I think one of the great dangers you have as governor is becoming too isolated on Capitol Square. Now, I'm out all the time, though, as a balance to that. I'm out all the time, as you saw yourself, of course, seeing people and visiting with people. We're not quite ready yet, Fine, how are you? Fine. That's why on the weekends, for example, I'll slip out to retail stores and bookstores and so on like that, and I have people say, what are you doing out here? Well, what am I not doing out here? I mean, of course I'm out here. It's because it's my chance to get out and just breathe air and be a normal person. Well, how are you?
Good to meet you guys.
Betty, how are you?
Fine.
Good, nice to see you.
Good to see you,
Good,
sir.
thank you very much. Is this the tree?
That's it. That's it.
Wow,
It's a very famous tree in Carroll County these days.
It is, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty well.
Well, how tall is it? Looks like it's about 10 feet.
It's about 10.5 feet, almost exactly. That's what they said you needed, so that's what we got.
Well, the governor serves not only as the chief executive, but also as the head of state, which means that he represents the people in hundreds and hundreds of ways.
All sides, so it's a real nice tree.
It's heavy, huh?
Yeah,
Probably can't lift it up.
It's heavy. No, we couldn't. The two of us together could lift it, but.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank the Virginia Growers Association, particularly Bill and Betty Cornett, for donating this tree to the governor's mansion this year for Christmas. This is, I guess, the beginning of the Christmas season when the governor's mansion gets their Christmas trees. So we're delighted to be here today and to thank them very much. There's a competition, isn't there, Bill?
Yes, we won the grand championship for the Virginia Christmas Tree Growers Association, and it's our very great honor to provide this tree.
I think it's just terrific, and I appreciate this very much. And the Christmas season now begins. So thank you all very much for your donation and for making this a part of the Christmas season for everybody in Virginia. We appreciate it.
Very welcome.
I think what she has in mind is having this tree be a centerpiece in the main hall of the mansion. She expects to put things around the outside, and then anybody that comes in to the mansion over the Christmas holidays, when you walk through the front door, the Christmas tree will be straight ahead right at the center of the ballroom, where the ballrooms are on either side. And then people can walk around this tree 360. I think that's what Roxanne has in mind. If she changes it, don't get me, but I think that's probably right. And so it's nice to have a lovely tree like this. It's 10.5 feet tall. Receiving a Christmas tree on behalf of the people of Virginia. We are very public people because we're head of state as well as head of government. But the challenge here is to do it all. The challenge is to serve as head of state, to serve as head of government so that I can, in fact, run the budget and manage the day in and day out operations, do policy work, which is very key, big picture thinking, long forward thinking processes that have to be done, and serve as head of party and get out and serve as electing Republicans and pushing forward the ideas that we Republicans have, strong quality in education, excellence in tax relief, inclusiveness of all people. These are the Republican ideas that I put forward as head of party. And then finally, head of my family, the ability to spend time with my sons and my wife and to live some type of decent, normal life that allows my children to grow up like regular people. By saying that we are looking forward to having a lot of people through this Christmas holiday. I think it'll be fun. We're looking forward to it. Roxanne and I, it'll be our first Christmas in the mansion. Roxanne and I and the boys appreciate it.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Budget question, Tyler. Oh, did you still have a Christmas tree question? I'm going to keep the promises that I've made to bring genuine tax relief to the people of Virginia. We have done that with the car tax. We're now in a position, I believe, if it's done correctly, if it's done responsibly, I believe that we can do the food tax as well. Promises have been made for years to take the lottery and give it to education. That promise has been broken for years. I'm going to keep that promise. Promise has been made for years to give this money back to the localities for law enforcement. That promise has been broken.
Governor, one thing that Ken Plum was suggesting is that you're not really giving over the full profit of the lottery either. And so that there's something disingenuous about the proposal because it's about $123 million a year instead of 300 and something. What's your response to that?
It's going to be the entire lottery proceeds. I think that there are some savings realized because of the way, when it goes back by way of the formula for education, that both the locality and the state save something on the percentages.
Sorry, one follow-up regarding the lottery. Penny Kyle gave a presentation and talked about expanding the fact that the big game is going to be expanding to, you know, grow bigger jackpots and increase revenue.
I think it's a case-by-case basis. I think that we do not want to have a policy of favoring gambling in the state, but the lottery is here, it's intact. I think it's going to produce revenue for education in future years, and I just think you have to look at each proposed innovation to determine whether it's in the best interest of the Commonwealth.
Do you support using if the lottery for schools budget amendment goes through, do you support using that in lottery advertising to let people know that that's where that money is going?
I think that we're all going to let the public know that the lottery is going for education. The public had always assumed that it was.
So you think it's okay to advertise lottery by talking about it going to education?
If it's consistent with the statutes.
She said that the only really new avenue open to the lottery is electronic games.
Every time I go to a national meeting and talk to both attorneys general and governors, the experience around the country confirms to me that we don't want to go in that direction. We're not going to promote more aggressive gambling in the state. It is difficult, I think, for the political environment. Big money comes in and begins to distort things in other parts of the country, and we don't want to repeat that kind of situation here. But we're not going to go to casino gambling while I'm governor of Virginia. But one thing's for sure, and that is the promise has been made that lottery proceeds would be given to education. Should have been done a long time ago. We're going to do it now. The lottery is fine. We're not going to do anything to eliminate the lottery. That's not on the table.
Could you support a larger amount going into that than a 4-year phase-in?
If you do the food tax the way that I propose to do it, then you are in a position to do 599 funds and keep that promise that had been broken for so many years to the localities. So the budget has been carefully thought through and crafted, as you know, has been my practice over the years. I think the schedule is the hardest thing that goes on in government for a governor. Trying to weigh and balance time and to make it all make sense so that the most important things are being done. But you cannot ignore people. The truth is that sometimes, to my amazement, people do care a lot about the governor and his attention and some special gesture. And we have to remember that every Virginian is important, every one. And if it's important to them, I am not so arrogant that I would not speak to them or talk to them or spend time with them, because they are the people of Virginia. They're the reason I'm here. And if they care, I care.
Just one last guy. Thank you so much.
Great.
Very nice.
You got that evergreen fragrance of Christmas here.
Yeah, it smells good, doesn't it?
Yes, it is. Bill, thank you so much. Actually, I think I get a square shake of Christmas. I really do.
You're doing well on the Post lately.
Yeah, I'm just finding the Post, and I'm doing well, I think, everywhere. I think there are a couple of editorial people that are not very good.
Our editorial page is pretty liberal. It's not as bad as the Charlotte.
Well, that's true.
Everything's relative.
It's left and way off the charts left. But you know, but the working press, I think, are pretty good. Pretty good. And I think I get a square shake of the press.
So then your minion over there can stop harassing us?
Well, maybe the minion is the reason why we get a square.
See you guys.
I have a special relationship with Mark Earley as Attorney General and John Hager as Lieutenant Governor. No previous Republican governor has ever before enjoyed the partnership of both the Lieutenant Governor and the Attorney General at the same time. We've never before swept in the history of Virginia until I was elected. Therefore, I have the advantage of having that type of special relationship. Certainly, Governor Hager, Lieutenant Governor Hager, has a lot to say about what goes on in the legislature. The Attorney General, I'm very conversant with what he does because I did it for 4 years. And Mark Earley is a great partner in government. I don't think his job's to fill my shoes. I think his job's to be a good Attorney General in his own lights, and I think that he is.
I see. It says decision track this one.
Yeah, that's the easy.
I have
I have all the resources I need except time. Time I do not have. We're in the process right now of preparing the budget, which is the key document to determine policy. What you choose to spend money on actually determines the policy and the quality of life of the people of Virginia and the choices that you have to make. It seems to me that my goal is to remind everyone that we ought to be making choices. There is a tendency to think that we just tax everybody everything and then do everything anybody can imagine or dream up. That's bad government. What you should do is make decent choices about what really and truly adds to the quality of life of people, and then tax accordingly, but not overtax just because of some whim of somebody someplace. People ought to have their own money to decide their own lives. Every governor has his own style in this. Mine is much more hands-on than I think some previous governors have been. I have therefore put myself to a great burden of meeting on the budget fairly continuously in order to try to understand how it all fits together. I don't think you can make good decisions or choices as governor unless you are aware of the impact that it has on the small details. So I'm trying to learn as much as I can and then determine what can reasonably be delegated to the Secretary of Finance or the Chief of Staff and what issues have to remain with me. I never want to be on defense. I expect to be on offense, and I think we will pick up seats, and that will be my goal and objective. But at the end of the day, it's up to the people of Virginia. And the burden is on us to offer our program and to make sure the people understand what we're trying to do, and then hopefully the people will elect us so that we can advance the state. But at the end of the day, it's up to the people of Virginia.
Your victory as Attorney General?
I certainly see as my role as head of party to substantially improve the Republican Party, to make it inclusive, to have it reach out into every community in the state, to add African Americans, to add Hispanics, to add Asians, and to make it clear we're all in this together, and that advancement of the opportunity for people is the Republican philosophy. So in line with that, certainly I will go and visit with and support Republican candidates, because it actually matters which party is running the show. And Republicans have never before ever controlled the House of Delegates and don't to this day. So we have to change history now, and I feel very much a part of that as governor. The days typically end very late. I don't go home at 5, even if I'm in the office, which I never seem to be at the end of many days. I always seem to be back out again for an evening type of event. So when I get home at night, I'm pretty physically tired, frankly. I'm pretty emotionally spent, and I need a little recoupment time. I need a little time to restore myself, and I do it just like any normal person, anywhere, any typical Virginian. I'll watch some TV, I'll pick up some movies, I'll read a book. I read constantly. And as a result, I've always had 4 or 5 books going at once. And that's my way of relaxing and recreating, by working my mind a little bit, by engaging in something that's not something I've been doing during the day. I'll read biographies or histories or novels, and it's my way of relaxing, but it usually runs into the night, because I usually get started with my relaxation 5 or 6 hours later than anybody else does, at least unless they're on the night shift. It's a lot better than I expected it to be. It's more enjoyable. It is a greater honor than even I thought it would be. But most importantly, I have the ability to actually act now, as a chief executive, to actually act and to marshal resources. And I'm surrounded by the best people in Virginia on my staff. And as a result, I have the ability to do good things and to magnify the governor's abilities. And that's what I'm looking forward to continuing to do.
When we asked the Attorney General, Lieutenant Governor, and Governor of Virginia to follow them around for a day, we asked each to pick a day that would be typical. Now, some will be busier and some will be slower. Just remember this: as long as you're paying their salary, you're the boss. Performance reviews will be due in November of 2001. I'm Randy Davis for Virginia Capitol Public Television.